Leadership is a process by which a person influences others to accomplish an objective and directs the organization to make it cohesive and coherent. It is the ability to build confidence and zeal among people and create an urge to be led. It inspires confidence and support among group members to achieve the organizational goals. Dynamic and effective leadership leads an organization towards success. Today, we are going to share with you one of the topics in educational theories, the traditional theories of leadership. Here are the reporters for today: Frida T. Obinguar, Glenda G. Hiwi, Jekar D. Yodico, and Gisela B. Mangrobang.
Thomas Carlyle once said, "He who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything." A person with a clear purpose will make progress, even on the roughest road. A person with no purpose will make no progress, even on the smoothest road. A man without a goal is like a ship without a rudder. The trait theory of leadership. The trait theory of leadership suggests that certain inborn or innate qualities and characteristics make someone a leader. These qualities might be personality factors, physical factors, intelligence factors, and so on. In essence, trait theory purposes that the leader and leader's traits are central to an organization's success. The assumption here is that finding people with the right traits will increase organizational performance. Trait theory focuses exclusively on the leader and neglects the follower. The trait theory of leadership focuses on identifying different personality traits and characteristics that are linked to successful leadership across a variety of situations. This line of research emerged as one of the earliest types of investigations into the nature of effective leadership, and it is tied to the great man theory of leadership, first proposed by Thomas Carlyle in the mid-1800s. Personality traits reflect people's characteristic patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Trait theory in psychology rests on the idea that people differ from one another based on the strength and intensity of basic trait dimensions. There are three criteria that characterize personality traits. First is consistency. Individuals must be somewhat consistent across situations in their behaviors related to the trait. For example, if they are talkative at home, they tend also to be talkative at work. The second is stability. A trait must also be somewhat stable over time as demonstrated behaviors related to the trait. For example, at age 30, if someone is talkative, they will also tend to be talkative at age 40. The third one is individual differences. People differ from one another on behaviors related to the trait. People differ on how frequently they talk, and so personality traits such as talkative exist. According to Carlyle, history is shaped by extraordinary leaders. This ability to lead is something that people are simply born with. Carlyle believed, and not something that could be developed. Carlyle's ideas inspired early research on leadership, which almost entirely focused on inheritable traits. Carlyle's theory of leadership was based on the rationale that certain traits produce certain patterns of behavior. Patterns are consistent across different situations, and people are born with leadership traits. These styles and their key traits are the impacts the success of a leader. First, team builder. Tolerant, motivational, inspirational, and supportive. Second, captain. Respectful, trusting, reliable, and fair. Third, strategist. It is trustworthy. Fourth, creative, innovative, visionary, courageous, inspirational, and confident. The last one is impulsive, obsessed with new ideas, curious, energetic, and participative. The leadership profile of any individual is a composite of multiple styles. However, the predominance of some styles over others will influence the success of that individual. This has been Prida T. Obingwar reporting.
We've all heard the phrase, "Great leaders are born, not made." This was the core of the original idea behind what made an effective leader. After its proposal in the mid-1800s by Thomas Carlyle, trait theory or the great man theory of leadership served as one of the most widespread ideas on what makes a great leader. Then, trait theory was tested and studied. It was discovered, measurably so, that there are few natural traits that differentiate leaders from followers. In other words, leaders are made, not born. A new approach was needed, thus the birth of the behavioral theory of leadership. The idea is simple. If there are few natural traits exclusive to effective leaders, perhaps leaders aren't born, they're made. Let's define behaviors first. Behavior is the range of actions and mannerisms made by organisms, system, or artificial entities in conjunction with the environment, which includes the other systems or organisms around as well as the physical environment. It is the response of the system or organisms to various stimuli or inputs, whether internal or external, conscious or subconscious, overt or covert, and voluntary or involuntary. Human behavior refers to the range of behaviors exhibited by humans and which are influenced by culture, attitudes, emotions, values, ethics, authority, rapport, hypnosis, persuasion, coercion, and/or genetics. In humans, behavior is believed to be controlled primarily by the endocrine system and the nervous system. Behavioral theory of leadership is a big leap from trait theory that rooted in the behaviorism movement in the 1950s, as it was developed scientifically by conducting behavior-focused studies. The theory emphasizes that leadership capability can be learned rather than being inherited. This theory is based on the principle that a leader's behavior can be conditioned in a manner that one can have a specific response to a specific stimuli. The two important behavioral studies. Orientation toward task. Task behaviors facilitate goal accomplishment and help the team to achieve its objectives. Orientation toward people. Relationship behaviors help team members feel comfortable with themselves, with each other, and with the situation in which they find themselves. Behavioral theories of leadership, also known as the style approach to leadership, focuses on the behavior of the leader and what leaders do and how they act. Behavioral theories are based upon the belief that great leaders are made, not born. Behavioral theories concentrate on what leaders do. Behavioral approach is based on the leader's beliefs, values, and interpersonal relations. Behavioral theories assumes that specific behavioral patterns of leaders can be acquired. People can learn to become leaders through teaching and observation. What are the advantages and disadvantages of behavioral theory of leadership? Behavioral theory promotes the value of leadership styles with an emphasis on concern for people and collaboration. It promotes participative decision making and team development by supporting individual needs and aligning individual and group objectives. It helps managers evaluate and understand how their behavioral style as a manager affects their relationship with the team and promotes commitment and contribution towards organizational goals. Behavioral theory of leadership proposes leadership styles, but a specific leadership style may not be best in all circumstances. While behavioral theories may help managers develop particular leadership behaviors, they provide little guidance as to what constitutes effective leadership in different situations.
Let me begin my report with a quote from a famous person. The quality of leadership, more than any other single factor, determines the success or failure of an organization. By Fred Fiedler. What comes to mind? Perhaps you think of a strong, determined individual with a blazer and a checklist. Maybe you think of a master of interpersonal relationships who empowers a team to collaborate well. Well, according to Fiedler's contingency theory, both of these people can be great leaders because a leader's effectiveness depends on the harmony between their leadership style and the situation at hand. Fiedler's contingency model of Leadership is a business framework that evaluates the effectiveness of a leader in an organization. The framework argues that there is no one best style of leadership. It states that a leader's effectiveness is based on the situation. It states that their leadership style must fit the situation for a leader to be effective. Using this model, you will identify your leadership style, assess the situation that requires leadership, and determine whether you are the right leader. Fiedler argues that it's difficult to change how you lead, so understanding your leadership style is essential for serving your team. The premise for this model is that an individual's leadership style is the result of their life experiences and therefore extremely difficult to change. Fiedler's contingency theory, also known as Fiedler's contingency model or Fiedler's theory of leadership, states that there is no one best style of leadership. Rather, the most effective leadership style for any given situation is one that aligns with the situation at hand. Instead of trying to change one's leadership style, the organization should match a particular leadership style to a particular situation. The theory was developed in the 1960s by Austrian psychologist Professor Fred Fiedler, one of the leading researchers in organizational psychology of the 20th century. He studied leadership personalities and characteristics and concluded that leadership style, since it is formed through one's life experiences, is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to change. He helped the leadership and organizational performance field of research move from the research on traits and personal characteristics of leaders to leadership styles and behaviors. He also developed the contingency model of leadership in 1967 as a solution to the trait and behavioral theories that were failing to produce a relevant framework for leadership dynamics. Fiedler believed the right leader must be chosen for each job based on their skill set and the requirements of the situation. To best match leaders with the situations, each leader must first understand their natural leadership style. Then they need to evaluate whether their leadership style is right for the situation. To put it simply, Fiedler determined that a leader's ability to succeed rests on two factors: natural leadership style and situational favorableness. In the context of this theory, leadership style is fixed and therefore can be measured using the least preferred coworker or LPC scale, a scale developed by Fiedler. Fiedler's contingency model starts with the aforementioned LPC scale. The way the LPC scale works, a leader is asked to think of their least preferred coworker and rate them on numerous bipolar adjectives. For an example of one adjective, you could select a value between 1 for unkind and 8 for kind on an 8-point scale of kindness. After the full scale has been completed, the values are totaled to give an LPC score, which is then compared to different ranges to tell the individual their leadership style. The three different leadership styles are relationship-oriented, task-oriented, or somewhere in between, or a mixture of both. Here is the interpretation. The LPC scale is used by Fiedler to identify a person's dominant leadership style. Fiedler believes that this style is a relatively fixed part of one's personality and is therefore difficult to change. This leads Fiedler to his contingency views, which suggest that the key to leadership success is finding or creating good matches between style and situation. If your score is 73 or above, you are considered a relationship-oriented leader. If your score is 64 or below, you are considered a task-oriented leader. If your score is 65 to 72, you are a mixture of both, and it is up to you to determine your leadership or which leadership style is most like yours. The LPC scale is a questionnaire that helps the leader to understand the specific leadership style. The leader is asked to think of all the people with whom they have ever worked and then describe the person with whom they have worked least well using a series of scales of 1 to 8. Leaders, again, who score 64 and above, have a relationship-oriented leadership style. These leaders derive satisfaction out of interpersonal relationships and tend to rate their least preferred co-workers in a more positive manner. Leaders who score 57 or below have a task-oriented leadership style. These leaders tend to rate their least preferred co-workers in a more negative manner and get satisfaction out of successful task performance. As you have probably realized, Fiedler's contingency theory is pretty simple. All it requires is a comparison of one's leadership style with the demands of the situation. There are two elements of Fiedler's contingency model: the leadership style and the situational favorableness. Now let's take a closer look at how the model breaks down these factors. Let's start with the leadership style. To help you determine your leadership style, Fiedler developed the least preferred coworker or LPC scale. The scale asks you to describe the coworker you least prefer to work with. The more positively you rate your least preferred coworker on a variety of different criteria, the more relationship oriented you are. The less favorably you rate them on the same criteria, the more task oriented you are. Essentially, if you are a high LPC leader, you are a relationship oriented leader. While if you are a low LP leader, oriented leaders are great at building relationships, facilitating team synergy, and managing interpersonal conflict. Task-oriented leaders tend to be skilled at organizing projects and teams effectively. Pretty straightforward. Rating your least preferred coworker favorably means that you see the best in people, even those you wouldn't necessarily choose to work with. Rating your least preferred coworker unfavorably suggests that you struggle to see their contributions since you value efficiency and effectiveness over other attributes. There isn't one right way to lead. While task orientation may be preferable to the organization at large, teammates themselves tend to prefer relationship orientation. 79% of people who quit their jobs cite a lack of appreciation as a primary reason for leaving. Next, Fiedler's model requires you to assess the situation at hand. Situational contingency theory, also known as situational leadership, states that every situation that requires leadership is different and requires a specific type of leader. The favorability of a situation depends on how much influence and power you have as a leader. Situational favorableness is determined by three variables: leader-member relations, task structure, and position power. The leader-member relations factor of Fiedler's contingency model of leadership refers to the degree of mutual trust, respect, and confidence between the leader and the subordinates. When the leader-member relations are good, the leader has a high degree of control of the situation, which makes the situation more favorable for the leader. When leader-member relations in the group are poor, the leader has to shift focus away from the group task in order to regulate behavior and conflict within the group. Leader-member relations are all about trust. Does your team trust you as a leader? Well, the more they do, the higher your degree of leader-member relations and the more favorable the situation is. Next, Fiedler's contingency model of leadership is task structure. The task structure factor refers to the extent to which group tasks are clear and structured. When task structure is low or unstructured, group tasks are ambiguous with no clear solution or correct approach to complete the goal. Conversely, when task structure is high or structured, the group goal is clear and straightforward, and members have a clear idea about how to approach and reach the goal. Task structure refers to the clarity of the tasks required to complete a project. A higher task structure results in a more favorable situation. The more clear-cut and precise tasks are, the higher the situation's task structure, whereas the vaguer they are, the lower the situation's task structure. And the last Fiedler's contingency model of leadership is the leader position power. The leader position power factor refers to the amount of power the leader has over the group, as to which extent the leader can reward or punish the group's members. The stronger the power, the higher the power at the degree, rather, to which the leader can control the situation. When the position power is weak, leaders cannot control the resources, so they lack the same degree of situational control as leaders high in power. Position power refers to your authority on your team as a leader. If you can reward them, punish them, or tell them what they do, your position power is high. As you can imagine, a higher position of power makes the situation more favorable. As Fiedler's contingency theory of leadership, situational factors, here what it refers or means. Task structure, goal clarity, path simplicity or multiplicity, solution singularity or multiplicity, solution verifiability. Position power, refers to or means you're appointed by authority, direct or recommend action, affect promotion or demotion, leader expertise or knowledge, conduct performance evaluation, and a formal title. Leader-member relations refers to co-worker cooperation or conflict, reliability or trustworthiness, harmonious climate, leader-worker cooperation or conflict, and initiative by workers. In conclusion, Fiedler's contingency model of leadership states that group effectiveness depends on an appropriate match between a leader's style and the demands of the situation. In other words, effective leadership is contingent on matching the leader's style to the right setting. Here are the advantages of Fiedler's contingency theory. It provides a simple way to determine when a leader's skills are most and least impactful. It encourages leaders to practice self-awareness, an essential quality for making decisions for a team. It takes the situation into account, branching beyond many leadership theories that solely focus on the leader, and it's straightforward. LPC and situational favorableness are both relatively easy to calculate. While here are the criticisms or disadvantages of Fiedler's contingency theory. It's far too rigid. If you can change the situation at hand, the theory states that the only option you have is to give up leadership. It's unclear what leaders who fall in the middle range of the LPC test should do. The theory essentially just says to figure it out. Self-assessment isn't always reliable. Even when we try to be self-aware when completing the LPC test, our egos and biases have a way of interfering, even subconsciously. And the theory may discourage leaders who are doing a fine job, especially if they perceive their leadership style and situation to be at odds when they aren't.
Bill Owens once said, "True leadership lies in guiding others to success, in ensuring that everyone is performing at their best, doing the work they are pledged to do, and doing it well." This saying is an attestation to one of situational theories of leadership, the House Path Goal Theory. House Path Goal Theory. The theory was developed by Robert J. House. Robert House was one of the foremost experts on leadership across cultures. House Path Goal Theory has its roots in the expectancy theory of motivation. The theory is based on the premise that an employee's perception of expectancies between his effort and performance is greatly affected by a leader's behavior. The leaders help group members in attaining rewards by clarifying the path of goals and removing obstacles to performance. Leaders do so by providing the information, support, and other resources which are required by employees to complete the task. In a more defined words, path goal theory states that a good leader provides clear direction, sets high goals, gets involved in a goal achievement, and support his employees. The employees, as a result, will be a more satisfied and productive team. It also states that employees will accept a leader's direction if the employees believes that there will be an immediate or future benefit that results from work. House theory also advocates servant leadership. As per servant leadership theory, leadership is not viewed as a position of power. Rather, leaders act as a coaches and facilitators to their subordinates. According to House Path Goal theory, a leader's effectiveness depends on several employee and environmental contingency factors and certain leadership styles. To further understand, let's look at this figure. As you can see, employee contingency, which involves skills and experience, the environmental contingencies like task structure and team dynamics, and the leadership behaviors or leadership styles, namely directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented, affect leaders' effectiveness, in which leaders give employee motivation, employee satisfaction, and leader acceptance. Now, let's talk about the 4 leadership styles in House Path Goal theory. These are directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented. Directive. Here, the leader provides guidelines and lets subordinates know what is expected of them, set performance standards for them, and controls behavior when performance standards are not met. The leader makes judicious use of rewards and disciplinary action. The style is the same as a task-oriented one. Next is supportive leadership style. The leader is friendly towards subordinates and displays personal concern for their needs, welfare, and well-being. This style is the same as people-oriented leadership. Participative leadership style. The leader believes in group decision-making and shares information with subordinates. He consults his subordinate on important decisions related to work, task goals, and paths to resolve goals. And lastly, achievement-oriented leadership style. The leader sets challenging goals and encourages employees to reach their peak performance. The leader believes that employees are responsible enough to accomplish challenging goals. This is the same as goal-setting theory. According to the theory, these leadership styles are not mutually exclusive, and leaders are capable of selecting more than one kind of a style suited for a particular situation. This theory consistently reminds the leaders that their main role as a leader is to assist the subordinates in defining their goals and then assist them in accomplishing those goals in the most efficient and effective manner. This theory gives a guide map to the leaders about how to increase subordinate satisfaction and performance level.
Paul Hersey once said, "People differ not only in their ability to do, but also in their will to do." And according to Ken Blanchard, an American author, the key to successful leadership today is influence, not authority. The Hersey-Blanchard model suggests no single leadership style is better than another. Instead of focusing on workplace factors, the model suggests leaders adjust their styles to those they lead and their abilities. Under the model, successful leadership is both task-related and relationship-related. It is an adaptive, flexible style whereby leaders are encouraged to consider their followers, individuals, or a team. Then, consider the factors that impact the work environment before choosing how they will lead. This ensures they will meet their goals. The Hersey-Blanchard model is also referred to as situational leadership model or theory. The Hersey-Blanchard model or situational leadership style was developed by author Dr. Paul Hersey and leadership expert Dr. Kenneth Blanchard, author of The 1-Minute Manager. The model is not a static leadership style. Instead, it is flexible, wherein the manager adapts their management style to various factors in the workplace, including the relationship with employees. That means managers who live by the model must choose the leadership style as it relates to the maturity of followers. For example, if follower maturity is high, the model suggests the leader provide minimal guidance. By contrast, if follower maturity is low, the manager may need to provide explicit directions and supervise work closely in order to ensure the group has clarity on their goals and how they are expected to achieve them. The maturity level of followers is divided into 3 categories: high, moderate, and low. High maturity includes high capable and confident individuals who are experienced and work well on their own. Moderate maturity is generally divided into 2 groups. The first are employees who are capable but lack enough confidence to take on the responsibility to do so. And the second group has the confidence but is not willing to do the task at hand. Low maturity employees are not skilled enough to do the task but are very enthusiastic. Hersey and Blanchard developed 4 types of leadership styles based on the tasks and relationships that leaders experience in the workplace. According to the model, the following are styles of leadership managers can use. The first style is delegating style. A low task, low relationship style wherein the leader allows the group to take responsibility for task decisions. This is best used with high maturity followers. The second is participating style. A low task, high relationship style that emphasizes shared ideas and decisions. Managers can use this style with moderate followers who are experienced but may lack the confidence to do the task assigned. The third style is selling style. A high task, high relationship style in which the leader attempts to sell their ideas to the group by explaining task directions in a persuasive manner. This, too, is used with moderate followers. Unlike the previous style, these followers have the ability but are unwilling to do the job. Telling style. A high task, low relationship style wherein the leader gives explicit directions and supervises work closely. This style is geared toward low maturity followers. Applying the model and its limitations. This leadership method lets executives, managers, and other positions of authority take charge of their followers based on the acumen, understanding, and context of the group. By taking into consideration how the strengths, weaknesses, and awareness of the followers can affect performance and outcomes of a project, leaders can apply an appropriate structure and degree of control to achieve the desired results. There are limitations to the model that may be beyond the leader's control. The position and authority of the leader may be restricted by the operational chain of command or hierarchy for an organization, which could force them to adopt rigid styles rather than adopt the follower maturity. Furthermore, time constraints, a narrow field of options, and limits on available assets can also force managers to act based on the circumstances they face, eliminating the possibility of enacting strategies built around follower maturity. The advantages and disadvantages of the Hersey-Blanchard model. Although this leadership model may be sound in theory, it may not necessarily apply in every situation. It comes with advantages and disadvantages. One advantage of an adaptive leadership style is leaders can change their style at their own discretion at any time. Secondly, employees may find a leader who adapts to shifts in the workplace as a desirable trait. It is also a simple and easy to apply leadership style, meaning a manager can quickly evaluate a situation and make decisions as they see fit. On the downside, situational leadership may put too much responsibility on the manager, whose decisions may be flawed. Also, the model may not apply to every work culture. The model may also prioritize relationships and tasks as opposed to a company's long-term goals. This has been Pridati Obingwar reporting.
The theory developed by Fred Dansereau, George Grain, and William Haga in 1975 that deals with the individual dyadic relationships formed between leaders and their subordinates, the vertical dyad linkage theory. It is also widely known as the leadership member exchange theory. The theory focuses on types of leadership subordinate relationships which are further classified into subgroups, namely the in-group and the out-group. The in-group consists of members that receive greater responsibilities and encouragement and are able to express opinions without having any restrictions. Their ideas are frequently considered by the leader to the extent of being influenced in his decision-making process. Additionally, the in-group members are able to obtain more access to resources. The out-group relationship is more formal, being based on the contract of employment. Members that belong to this category are generally disfavored by the leader. Thus, their viewpoints and ideas are less likely to be accepted. Furthermore, they may not have full access to resources and are allocated fewer responsibilities and rank lower on the subject of importance. In the vertical dyad linkage theory, the relationship between the manager and the subordinates is constructed in 3 stages. Role-taking stage. In the first stage, individuals become members of the team and meet their leader. A principal activity carried out by the leader is describing his expectations to the subordinates with regards to the way they should undertake their individual responsibilities and carry out their roles. Furthermore, it is the stage that represents an opportunity for the subordinates to demonstrate their qualities by putting into practice their set of skills and using their knowledge. In addition, the leader observes and analyzes how capable are the team members, what abilities they have, and how they are able to contribute to the team in order to have a successful outcome. Role-making stage. The role-making stage represents the occasion to prove their work ethics by fully contributing with ideas and research to the project that has been set. The members also demonstrate their capability to closely collaborate with the other individuals from the team, as well as how reliable and devoted they are to the leader. Evidently, the members that have the most input and are assimilated to the leader will be part of the in-group. Nevertheless, in cases of being disloyal to the leader, the individuals that have been categorized in the in-group are very likely to be asserted to the out-group. Role routinization stage. In order to continue to be perceived as excellent team members by the leader, the in-group individuals display admiration, reliance, and perseverance. Furthermore, mutual and high-quality leader and subordinate exchanges take place, developing the relationships within the team. The out-group individuals establish further relationships with the in-group in order to reach the leader easier and ultimately communicate more effectively with him. While the theory is adopted in various organizations, there are multiple benefits and downsides of putting it into practice. The most benefits are experienced by the in-group members. as they are favored by the leaders. The individuals that belong to the in-group are often providing guidance and assisting the leader. Thus, the leader is able to understand the in-group subordinates are devoted and demonstrate competency in the decision-making process. In addition, the application of the vertical dyad linkage theory is likely to improve mutual trust, confidence, organizational commitment, independence, respect, rewards, and recognition. As the allocation of the individuals into the respective subgroups is executed on the basis of the several factors such as gender, ethnicity, or achievements, the theory can be perceived as being discriminating. The performance can vary between working at a high competitive level and giving unsatisfactory input. Ultimately, this segregation method can negatively impact the behavior and outcome of the team. Another disadvantage represents the lack of equality within the team. The in-group individuals receive full attention from the leader, especially contributing with the opinions and suggestions upon the completion of work duties. Hence, the individuals from the two subgroups are not treated similarly, nor are given identical opportunities to prove their capabilities at the workplace.